Welcome to Unbroken with Yay. Pull up a seat and get ready for some real talk, raw healing, and a reminder that no matter what you've been through, you are still standing. You've got this.
Hello and welcome. I am Yay, and today we're talking about parallel parenting and how you don't have jurisdiction in another country, which is exactly how we need to reframe when your kids are at the other parent's house. And this is for anybody that when your kids are at their other home, you're worried about what they're eating and are they getting any vegetables, and have they, has your other parent remembered that there's a birthday party or a basketball game? Are they going to bed early enough? If you're worrying about all of that stuff when you're not even in the same house, or even who's going to be in the house, and that's a concern for you, then you're not clocking off. You are still on mum mode. You are absolutely not taking the time to fill your cup. So in this episode, we're going to look at the jurisdiction trap. And that's exactly what it is. It's not your jurisdiction. You do not need to enforce the borders and act like a border control agent. We're also going to look at cutting the tether. That little umbilical cord that you still got going there, where you want to micromanage and try and control the other parent and how they do things, and you think it's to the benefit of your child. We're going to look at how that's actually hurting you and hurting your kid when you won't stop calling or texting. And then we're also going to have a look at the drop it list, which is 5 things you can drop and just absolutely get some peace back in your life and regain control over you while letting go of all that worry and concern of things that are happening at the other house. Okay, so let's set the scene. You've just done drop off. You've done handover. You've got the weekend to yourself. You should be relaxing, kicking those shoes off, organizing some girl time with your friends, whatever it is, chucking on a pair of runners, going for a run and pumping up some great music. But you're not. You're sitting there and you're worried about what's happening at the other house. And is their dad going to have, I don't know, his new girlfriend over? Or is he going to put them to bed or let them stay up and watch the footy and then be tired and grumpy when they come home on Sunday? Or is he going to give them any fruit or vegetables? Because all he does is give them takeaway, and you're worried about it and you want to contact and you want to call and you want to get involved. That is the jurisdiction trap. It is not your jurisdiction. That house is essentially another country. And let me tell you, if someone came in and tried to tell me how to run my country, I'm the CEO of this house. I'll parent how I please. I put the food on the table that I think is appropriate. I put the kids to bed when I think it's appropriate. I have appropriate people in my home as visitors. I would be having none of it if someone came and tried to tell me how to run things. So you need to reframe in your mind how you are viewing what their house is like, and it's another jurisdiction. It's an absolute foreign country to yours. So you need to start letting go. I know you won't want to hear that. So you're looking at it as a foreign country, and if we're doing that, we're going to acknowledge, right? We're going to acknowledge and admit it's different customs there. There's different laws there. They do things differently there. They don't do it how I do it. And the reason is because they're a foreign country, okay? And they're separate from you. Now, if I wanted to micromanage and nag my partner or the father of my kids, I would still be married, right? So if I wanted to nag him and fight with him over letting our son stay up to watch the footy with him, I would still be married. If I wanted to tell him to put the kids to bed, but then tell him that he's doing it wrong and he's reading the wrong storybook and he should be doing it in a different order, I would still be married. But guess what? I'm not. So now I have my own jurisdiction, I got my own country, but so does he. And he does it the way it works for him. And they're also his kids. So I need to step back and stop trying to micromanage another adult because it didn't work for me when we were married. It actually created a huge amount of unnecessary animosity. I don't need to do that anymore. I only have to worry about kids now. I don't also have to worry about another adult. He's got this. He does. And if he chooses to do that, so be it. There's nothing I can't fix when they come back to my place on Sunday night. So I have to let it go and let it happen as it happens, because those are his laws in his country with his visitors. That is up to him on his clock. Let's talk about cutting the tether. Now, I know this is hard for a lot of people, and I've sat on the couch with a girlfriend before and she just could not cut that tether. She texted her ex so many times about the bedroom routine. Is the kid in bed? Has he been fed? Has he had his medication? Has he had his little cup of milk after he likes to eat, after he has his medication? Who's lying down and patting his back? And then when she was informed that the grandma, in fact, was patting backs as opposed to the father, she was unrelenting with phone calls and texts to the point that her ex put that kid in pajamas and drove him back to her house where I was sitting with her and dropped that kid off and said, if you can do it better, then do it. Her weekend was gone. That was Saturday night. I don't want that for you. And I don't want it for myself. That's not how I want to spend my time. So if you have that inclination where you have to call and you have to video and you have to FaceTime, I really implore you to cut that tether, because the reason you don't want to do that is same thing again. It's for you, but it's also for your kids. So it's not good for you to not switch off. You need to fill your cup with stuff that's not mum stuff, with you stuff. You're a human being too. You still have an identity. We don't want to lose that. And we've spoken about that before in the identity audit. So you need to spend your time doing things that are for you. But the reason you don't want to do that as well, because it's hurting your children. And the reason it's hurting your children is they're in a foreign country. So it is very difficult for a child to regulate when they're being interrupted. So if they're getting calls from you, if they're getting texts from you, if, you know, dad's coming over and going, mum's calling, she's insistent that, you know, you tell her that you do have your stuff for footy, then they have to stop what they're doing and they have to manage you. They have to manage your anxiety and manage your feelings while being in this foreign country. They're doing it in front of their other parent, and it places them in this awful situation where they're trying to manage two parents, and it's not their responsibility. They shouldn't be placed in that situation. So unless it's an emergency, and we're not talking about kids that are in danger here, but unless there's, you know, a health scare or an emergency, you shouldn't be contacting them. It's not necessary. And if they've forgotten their footy boots, and they've forgotten their footy boots, like there's nothing that is so distressing that the world cannot continue. And you need to keep that in perspective. I know you're trying to be a good mum, and I know you're trying to do the right thing, but you need to give these kids the opportunity to bond with the parent that they're with and to be ingrained in the cultures and customs and the way of doing things there. Because when they come back to your house, they have to do the same thing at your house. And if you want that level of respect at your place, you need to give your children the opportunity to show that level of respect at the other parent's house. I know it's hard to cut that tether. It is so important that you can restrain and hold back. And if that means distracting yourself, then distract yourself. Be busy. If you want to be busy, that's fine. But don't be busy annoying your kids when they are trying to engage and be part of the other half of their life, which is at their other parent's house. So what do we do about that? We make a drop it list. And this is for us. So once again, I've got a free worksheet on my website, www.unbrokenwithyay.com.au. They're all downloadable. So feel free to grab it there. And let me run through the drop it list. So I'll give you a whole bunch of examples, but there are so many things that you can drop, and it gives you peace. It gives the other parent space to parent their way, and it also stops your child from feeling like they're torn in between two places and that struggle of two different households. So for example, bedtimes, I'm going to drop it. If their dad wants to keep them up so they can bond and watch football together, because that's something they really like to do, and my kid falls asleep on the couch and then they come home even more feral on a Sunday, then so be it. I'm going to drop that. I'm going to stop nagging about bedtimes. The second thing may be sugar. Cool. I am going to step back and I am going to drop the nagging and the concern and the texting about what they eat. What they eat at that house, I don't care. You want to have Fruit Loops for breakfast? You want to have Fruit Loops 3 times a day? Great. But when you're with me, you're going to have fruit. So I'm just going to drop that. I'm going to drop nagging about screen time. Have they even been outside today? How many hours were they on the iPad? I'm just going to drop it. I am going to drop it and let it go. I am going to drop nagging about clothes. I'm not going to get annoyed because you buy them fancy clothes, but then you won't let them bring them to my house. I'm just going to drop it. I can buy my own clothes for my own kids. I'm not going to argue about that. I'm not going to call my kids and ask them, about what clothes they've packed for when they come back. And I'm not doing it. And I'm going to drop the check-in text. I'm not going to FaceTime my kids so that they can see where I am and what I'm doing. And more importantly, my ex. I don't want my exing where I am on a Saturday night and who I'm sitting next to. I don't need to do a FaceTime. I don't need to FaceTime these kids. They've got a parent in the room. That parent's putting them to bed. It's only a couple of nights. So I am going to drop that. It does not serve me and it doesn't serve my kids. Because sometimes the trap that we're all trying to fall into is this whole co-parenting, this really beautiful, no animosity, no history perspective. A lot of celebrities do conscious uncoupling. That is so far from reality of how the world works. And that's why I call it parallel parenting. Because if we were co-parenting in an ideal world, we would have the same routine. We would have the same perspective. We would have the same beliefs on things and the same priorities in regards to these kids and how the household is run and what food is being served. But reality is that's not how it is for me, and chances are it's not the same for you. So it's parallel parenting. So it's really like 2 trains on a track side by side. We're both trying to parent the best we can with the tools that we have, but we really have different perspectives on it. I really have to keep a routine. I got to be on top of that homework. There are different things that are important. And when you look at it like different countries, there's different customs here. We have different priorities here. We have different laws here about friends that can come over and play dates and all those types of things. It is not for me to tell my ex how to do it. And same as it is, sure as hell, not his place to tell me how either. So if you look at it as parallel parenting, it takes a lot of the heat out of it. It takes that anger out of it. It's like, okay, that's your way. Cool. You do it your way. I'll do it mine. And unfortunately, that means kids are torn between 2 different ways, but it also makes them really adaptable. It really means that they can adapt to different places, different scenarios, different sets of rules, just like school, having a different teacher. Your science teacher does it completely different to your PE teacher. So we are helping them. We just need to do it from coming from a place of peace and love and respect. And what better way to show our kids how to be respectful than to do it myself? then have my lived experience and showcase to them how to be respectful and kind and loving towards the other parent and step back. I'm now going to wrap up. I know that it's really hard to let go. I know that it's really hard to let go, even more so when you do it all the time. You are so used to it. The kids in you are so ingrained and you have a way of doing it. So I know that it can be really hard to let go, but see that as an opportunity. See that as your break. See that as your time to fill your cup and do something exciting. That's the time that I book all my dance lessons and I get out of the house and I meet new people. It's an opportunity for me. And it's an opportunity I want my kids to have good relationships with both their parents. I do not want them in therapy in 30 years saying, my mum talked crap about my dad and I never got to bond with him. And that's not what I want for them. I want them to have a really calm, cohesive relationship with both parents. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. It's actually a prayer that my nanny used to say to me. And I'm not overly religious and I'm not pushing anything, but this prayer is exactly what we're talking about. If you've ever heard the Serenity prayer, which is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that is exactly where we are. We have to have the courage to change the things in our own life, in our own home, to the benefit of our kids, but also just accept I can't change the things that are happening in that house. Sending a million texts or nagging that other parent is not going to change it. So why create a war over it? It is not necessary. And you need to have the wisdom, really look inside and know the difference between those. Any questions, any comments, please feel free to reach out to me. DM me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. Until next time.